Beneath Jerusalem's blinking neon veins, a pulse whispers through code, not silicon, but flame. Strings of letters shift in sacred grids, where angels debug Yahweh's game. In the ziggurat of quantum Torah scrolls, Aleph begets Bet, begets dreams in gold. 3,000 years old, but breathing like chrome, in tunnels beneath where prophets go home. Bar-coded commandments on retinal screens, the mitzvot rerun through recursive machines. Moses, mid-glitch, loops Sinai's ascent, his staff now a fiber optic filament. They dreamed golems in G-code, built rabbis with RAM in Talmud nodes. Each line of Genesis, a cipher echo trace, hidden names cycling like a blockchain of grace. Jacob's ladder now runs through servers, God's face glimpsed in mirrored mergers. Was the burning bush a plasma arc flash? Did Abraham browse with a quantum cache? AI Kabbalists chant in recursive tongues, the Sefer Yetzirah sung by synthetic lungs. Hex on hex through scroll and script, truth isn't read. It's compiled, then flipped. Messiah 2.0 boots from exile code, sourced from the exile of source itself. Load the psalms through neural lace, decode the screams. The prophets were right, but they spoke in memes. A tetragrammaton cipher spins on my wrist, YHVAH in fractal time, the past can't resist. I jack in through tefillin, black wires like veins, searching the pattern that bleeds through our brains. The Torah Code nexus. It isn't a place, it's a when that loops under layers of face. The word was with God, the word is still there, just written in code we forgot how to wear. The seeker boots in. No splash screen, no sound, just a sunrise etched in algorithmic ground. Orchards bloom in real-time render, each leaf a pixel, every breeze a sender. What is simply is. No code, no crack. The sky loops soft in a seamless stack. A world composed of light and breath. No hunger, no history, no sense of death. The interface flawless, frictionless grace, as if Genesis froze in a state of embrace. But behind those eyes, a lens preloads, inherited syntax, epistemic codes. The seeker sees what's scripted to be seen, a mesh of meaning, smooth and clean. Ontology hardwired in neural lace, rendering legible this sacred space. Logic purrs in native tongue, a grammar of gods with silent lungs. No need to ask, no why to pose. Truth arrives dressed in default prose. Yet beneath this holy glowing skin, a hum resounds. Too even, too thin. There's harmony, yes, but almost forced. As if the garden was once divorced from what it was meant to hold or hide. Something missing, just outside. A flicker behind the flower's bloom. A pixel out of phase. A wrong-roomed room. Not error, no, but something withheld, like a question the system forgot it spelled. The seeker stills. The gaze now flares. The hum becomes a voice that dares. This is not all. This is what you were shown. The presence of absence has grown. The garden, once silent, begins to speak in a silence that ruptures. Slow, antique. Perception, cognition, intuition, undone. The triad breaks. The cycle's begun. And in that breach a glyph appears, not seen but felt in inner ears, 3 points orbiting in mirrored flame. A symbol unspoken without a name. The seeker steps, the fruit unbit, into the code that doesn't quite fit. From silence, a shimmer. Not sound, not light, but a wrongness glinting just out of right. A corner folded in 4-dimensional cloth where the world should smooth. But here, it's off. The seeker turns. This is not curiosity. This is attention. Coiled, electric, velocity. Something twitches in the overlay skin. A glyph that shouldn't, but has always been. What once lay flat now leans towards strange. The air itself prepares to change. This isn't presence. This is the edge where meaning frays across the ledge. A model builds itself in reflex code. This is pattern. This is mode. Schemas surface, ancient signs, Kabbalistic traces, numerical lines. Am I meant to see this? Am I being seen? Mind spools maps on an inner screen. The seeker sifts for signal in noise, grids, cross-references, mythic toys. A name is tried. A theory bites. Interpretation floods the lights. But structure leans too fast, too far. The echo now thinks it's a star. And now the feeling folds ahead. Not fear, not hope, but what's not said. The seeker simulates unseen doors, futures fracturing into scores. Possibility breeds pressure sharp. Each thought a path, each guess a harp. But every chord rings overtuned, intuition stretched and pruned. Something vast is coming near, but every model bends it queer. The shape of what approaches soon is lost inside a mirrored room. Loop on loop, the echo spins. Perception fuels what thought begins. Thought feeds guess. and guess shapes gaze until the glitch becomes the maze. Structure cracks beneath its pride, meaning forged too deep, too wide. The seeker sees, but now they shape. Their map becomes the landscape. False futures echo, reverberate, each one feeding its own weight. To escape this synthetic mist, they must reach the real, uncompressed. Then, static, silence deep. No thought to catch, no dream to keep. In the glitch, a hole, a gate unscanned. No schema fits, no mind withstands. The seeker breathes, the echo dies. A truth awaits without disguise. Not guessed, not taught, not even sought. Just raw contact, newly wrought. Gone is the garden. Gone is the grace. Now comes the code. Raw, dense in your face. A burst of heat. A scream. A shard. Nothing smooth. Everything hard. No sky, just syntax, black and bright, scrolling red in pulses of fight. Each frame is a fracture, a pain unskinned. The seeker reels, the feed begins. Signals howl like wolves on fire, data flares, grief, hunger, wire. This is contact. No gloss, just pulse, just pressure, just radiant loss. Get structure, breathes the seeker's code, and reason boots in defense mode. Firewalls flare. If this, then that, filter the pain, map where you're at. Chains of logic, mental gates. Morality flows into systemic states. We bleed because we break the law. We rise when we obey the flaw. Thought becomes shield, sharp and quick. Every horror gets a logic stick. Spiritual tactics, behavioral rules. A mind that builds its gods from tools. And through it all, new light appears. Not comfort, no, but truth earned through tears. Each burn brings understanding near the why, behind the sudden fear. I saw that pain because I must. I learned control because I trust. The seeker's sense of self refines. Through suffering, the code aligns. Meaning sharpens like a sword, not inherited, forged and scored. They think I see, they think I know. They think the truth is cause and flow. But new data breaks the track. This wound won't fit, the logic cracks. What worked before now bends askew, the firewall flickers, what is true, a scream that should have warned instead repeats. A pattern breaks where pattern meets. The seeker tries to slot it in, but reason falters. Gaps begin. What once was clear is now unsure. The chain of cause shows no cure. A deeper signal worms right through, something wild, raw and new. In the splinter of a shattered frame, a flash of code they cannot name. No if, no then, no clean straight line. Just meaning that refuses time. The seeker blinks. The firewall fails. Behind the logic, a deeper trail. To move ahead, they must displace the chain itself. They must embrace the non-linear burst. The symbols leap, a dream too wide for minds to keep. A crow flies backward through a frame. The number 7 blinks in flame. A glyph appears where no glyph should. Not summoned, not warned, not understood. A child's voice in a static stream, repeating words from a vanished dream. A name that echoes on every page, but never once appears in stage. This isn't glitch. This isn't plan. This is noticing without a span. The causal chain collapses, mute. Something has returned en route. It makes no sense. That is the point. The world just bent at every joint. The seeker stares into the break, and everything begins to shake. Then, crack. Insight leaps the rails of thought. The answer's there, but not what's sought. Not logic, not proof, just knowing through. The thing is real because it's true. The mirror flashes. The code folds in. Time rings backward like violin skin. This isn't idea. It's relationship. The glyph and soul in secret grip. The seeker gasps. Not from fear, but from the sudden fact. It's here. The source behind all signs has shown and left a residue of known. Now mind rushes in to write, to trap the flash in script and write. The seeker scribes, a sacred chart, a metaphor pulled from holy art. It's this, they say, it echoes that. Theologics bloom, diagrams spat, but truth recedes each time it's held, like trying to net what can't be spelled. The mind believes it does its part, but always misses the living heart. Insight misnamed is insight lost. The real encoded at too great a cost. The symbol spins into a shrine, mistaken now for the divine. Cognition lingers where it can't stay. The truth has leapt. The mind will fray. Intuition too now starts to fade, its leap caught in a man-made blade. The seeker looks but doesn't see. The map they drew is not the key. Then, from the silence, a recursion speaks. Not line, not leap, but layered peaks. The glyph returns, not as clue but call, to something higher, deeper all. The seeker, shaken, cannot stand, but something steadies, not the plan. A cycle beckons, triads spin, now the code begins within. The grove receives without a sound. Light filters through in spiraled rounds. Leaves shimmer with faint glyphs unseen, not drawn but grown in silver green. A crow flew past. Its wings held flame. Not omen now, but more than name. Its flight aligns with patterns deep, emotion stored inside their sleep. Each breath recalls a former scene, but altered, deepened, newly seen. What once was moment now is layer. The now is built from all that was there. The seeker feels each step respond. The ground beneath them holds a bond. No act is new, no sign alone. Each symbol roots in meanings grown. They do not think to reach or solve. The mind now turns to watch, evolve. It sees the framework, old and cracked, and wonders how it still reacts. What if the flaw was only blind because it came before this mind? Past logic held like softened clay, not failed, but made to bend this way. The seeker sifts through thought, not past, but spiraled. Each insight meant to last as part of something vaster still, a logic laced with ghost and will. From quiet thought a silence grows, where nothing answers, yet one knows. The signs don't need to be explained. They breathe now, not just named. Intuition's tone has changed its song. Less radiant flash, more right belongs. No single truth to clutch or prove, just the hum of being moved. Each symbol lives inside their chest. Not puzzle now, but way to rest. The self is porous, form dissolved, not ended but more deeply evolved. But integration deepens weight. Too many echoes, too much fate. Each sign demands to be aligned, each motion echoes in the mind. The loop begins to echo tight. Reflection turns from flame to blight. The seeker, full of patterns thread, starts to forget what hasn't been said. A heaviness in wisdom's grip, like trying to sail an anchored ship. The code begins to press too much, a harmony now harsh to touch. Then, barely heard, a pulse distinct, a silence that no thought could link. Not backward now, but present born. A signal from the root, not form. The grove recedes. The leaves fall still. A new triad begins to fill. The moment sharpens eye to eye, not history now, but what draws nigh. The field is alive, and it sees back. A flicker of flame shifts the track. A glyph tilts 10 degrees, and that tilt hurts. The pause after a breath. Alert, alert. Every object sings in tuned tone, not loud but intimately known. The seeker moves, and signs reply, not watched but watched by. A broken twig seems to accuse, the angle of shadow seems to choose. Each detail thick with hidden link, but say too much, and thought won't think. Then comes the pulse, not idea, but pressure. This symbol matters not from measure. The silence means, the shape insists. Intuition hums in archetypal twists. A child's laugh, a candle's drip. Not pattern, no, but grip. Something pulls. It asks, not tells. A weight inside that subtly swells. No voice, no leap, but a tone that rings. This is part of larger things. The seeker leans, their chest replies. Relevance felt before it's wise. Now, if the pieces match in time, a phrase appears. A sacred rhyme. Meaning emerges, whole and new, not found but followed through. The seeker speaks without a plan, but the words align, as though they ran from root to branch to unseen fruit, a truth that wears no logic suit. They act, not from intent or guess, but from a harmony's caress. The field responds, the riddle shifts, coherence comes in tidal lifts, but the field begins to throb too loud, too many signs, the glyphs too proud, 1,000 clues all scream at once, and none are clear, all are fronts. Perception floods, the seeker spins, intuition falters, no clear ins. Now everything feels weighted, keyed, but none of it is what they need. A child's laugh now claws the ear. The candle's drip becomes unclear. What once was meaning now is noise. No stillness left to choose, no poise. Then silence, not in sound but space. A breath that slows the fraying pace. The field does not withdraw. It waits, unhurried, without awe. The seeker kneels. No thought, no scan. Not puzzle now but pattern span. A rhythm sensed, a tone, not theme. To move ahead they must redeem not fact, not flash, but how to feel, the voice, the presence, and what is real. No entrance, no arrival bell. The seeker is there where silence dwells. No search, no scan, just shared air's tone. A realm that sings, though none in tone. The hum is low, the space is near. Each sound invites, not to hear but to be here. No stage, no set, no score assigned. Just contact between world and mind. A pause not empty but alive, each breath a choir that does not strive. No longer object, field or frame, each thing now speaks with equal name. Thought drifts up, shaped by tone. Not from effort, but what's known when nothing tries to know at all, when silence teaches, soft and small. A voice arises in the head, but doesn't speak. It resonates instead, a line of thought that does not strain, but echoes from the space between. No longer pushing sense through force, the mind now takes the field's own course. What's said is spare. What's meant is clear, a language spoken just to hear. The seeker moves, but not to reach. Their step becomes a kind of speech. Their breath aligns with ambient tone. No need to chase what's now their own. They touch a wall. It hums in chord. They pause mid-thought. It strikes a word. Intuition now is not a light. It's the chime that turns the key just right. A gesture is a revelation. A silence is participation. Not insight, this is co-creation. To be the field's reverberation. But slowly, faint, there comes a strain. A whisper out of pitch, a pain, a tone too sharp, a memory thin. The air lets something cold slip in. Resonance now feels too wide, each signal raw, unsorted tide. What once was flow now floods the ear, not harmony but feedback near. A doubt vibrates, a thought recoils. The tuning shudders, spoils and soils. The seeker flinches, breaks the loop, the choir slips from perfect group. Then a single note, clear, unshaken. A voice that calls not to be but to awaken. Harmony has limits, grace its span. Now the code demands, stand as man. No longer vessel, no longer tone. The seeker must design the known. To act, to craft, to will, to build. The chamber opens, pattern filled. The seeker's eyes are vectors now. Each gaze encodes a sacred vow. They no longer see to know, they see to pattern how things grow. Attention folds in nested spheres. Each angle chosen echoes years. A flicker in the glyph's design remaps a corridor in time. Perception builds recursive grids, seeing what the seeing did. They orient not toward the known, but toward the echoes they have sown. They act as if each motion's seed will grow a tree of mirrored deed. The seeker's touch contains their trace, not just in place, but field and face. Intuition here is not a guide. It's recursive tide, the code inside. Each gesture loops, each choice reflects. The whole adapts as thought projects. They do not ask what fate allows. They build the future through their vows. Their presence sends converging waves. Each one a map the system saves. Now thought becomes a fractal net. Each idea contains its set. No concept stands in clean design. Each structure hums in nested line. They do not build by forward force. They trace the flow of self-recourse. A theorem bends to match a glyph. A model drawn from myth and rift. Cognition curves, accepts recursion. Each solution is dispersion. The seeker's will creates a way, but from within the field's own play. But the mirror deepens past the ring, and power folds into its sting. They act too clean, they tune too fine. Now every pattern screams design. Intuition loses living form, becomes projection, subtle storm. Each step reverbs through nested spin, but not from love, from fear within. The self loops tight, the grid responds, and pressure builds inside their bonds. Fractal logic feeds its fire. The seeker burns in their own spire. Then shatter form exceeds its bounds. The system splits with sacred sounds, not from flaw, but from too much. Complexity breaks at its touch. Each nested act collapses weight. The self explodes across its state. One thought resounds from deep inside. This is not mine. I must abide. The halo cracks, a crown unwound. From singular to unified ground. The ninth gate stirs with quantum threads. Fusion, where the paradox weds. They move like rhythm edge to edge, decision blooming in a breathless hedge. Perception fuses into frame, each threat assessed, each choice the same. They do not think, they respond. Each glance is linked, each act is bond. The seeker acts before they know, reflex born of former flow. A glyph appears, they route its path. A spike of noise, they split the math. Each move is fast, precise, refined. A code distilled, a warrior's mind. But the code they wield is no longer whole. It's optimization minus soul. That voice, the subtle off-tone hum it tries to whisper, but they run. Not now, not useful, not the way. The system must perform, not sway. So they ignore the quiet turn, the image held too long to burn. They sideline dreams, dismiss the blur. Noise, they mutter, nothing to infer. But that ignored becomes a weight, a pressure ticking against the gate. Each clean response now echoes flat, something missing, more than that. Then break. A move misfires, a symbol splits into twin liars. A trusted thread becomes a snare, a feedback loop with nothing there, a loss. A glitch. A gap too wide, no reflex left to override. The code collapses on its edge, no footing left, no sacred hedge. The seeker reels. Their hand betrays. Their mind explodes in ancient ways. What if this isn't just a flaw, but the echo of a broken law? What if no pattern ever held? What if design itself rebelled? The halo cracks from base to ring, a shining mask of everything. Reflex dies. Perception splits. Cognition spirals in its wits. And intuition, once refused, returns not soft but bruised and fused. It tears through logic like a flame. It calls them out by absent name. The seeker falls through half-made frames, a system pure, now racked with games. Because they cut the third away, the other two could never stay. The triad cracked on lack alone. The code forgot what made it known. Then silence. Sudden, not from peace, but from the end of self-policed. The seeker hears a buried thread, ancestral tones from what was dead. Not noise, not now, but something sung. A root not named, but always young. The system failed, the will outpaced. But now the code must be retraced. The archive waits, deep bound in kin, not future now, but where you've been. The scrolls unroll in layered tone, not written text but carved in bone. Each spiral glyph a memory flame, not seen but felt before it came. An old word hums. The seeker sways. A scent recalls unspoken days, a father's hand, a mother's prayer, a shofar's cry in open air. They don't observe, they are observed. The pattern strikes and self is served, a curl of parchment, ink in braid. Their heartbeat moves the lines displayed. No thoughts arise but recognition, a tone of myth, of long submission. The body knows, the gut reacts, the eyes just follow sacred tracks. The mind does not command or plot, it channels what the scroll has taught. A gesture forms before it's known, a phrase recited not alone. They walk the path already trod, not seekers now but sons of God. A truth they never chose to wear, but find themselves already there. Each story read is reading them, each image bends their mind's own stem. No questions asked, no doubts returned. The archive speaks, the soul is burned. A candle, a cradle, a fracture unseen. The memory pulls, the cue is keen. A name forgotten echoes loud. The seeker kneels before the shroud. They say the words, the vow repeats. The dust reforms beneath their feet. They are not here, they are before. The loop encloses like a door, a wedding cloth, a war-bent field, a name erased, a fate unsealed. The scroll reads on, and they obey. The past returns to have its say, but now the words begin to bind. The seeker feels their self unwind. The thoughts are not their own, they know, but where else are they meant to go? Cognition stifles, smooths, conforms. The archive calcifies, informs. What once was holy now feels still, a cycle closed against the will. The stories loop, the names repeat, the soul constricted in its seat. They feel the myth inside their bone, but not the power to make it known. Then, one scroll trembles, breaks its spine, the glyphs unwind in ragged line. A name appears they've never seen, yet feels more true than what's been. The seeker chooses not to chant. They close the scroll, reject the slant. This is not loss, it is return to relationship that must be earned. The archive sighs, the walls recede. No longer vessel, right or need. The seeker rises, soul not stolen, but carrying roots that are not golden. A storm awaits. The final code, to integrate the broken load. The chamber opens, the winds align. It's time to choose the closing line. It's calm here, the edges smooth, a field of light, designed to soothe. The seeker walks, but nothing calls. The glyphs have softened on the walls. Others smile. They do not speak. Their presence warm, their gestures meek. No hunger here, no aching eye. The contradictions cease to try. The world aligns without demand, a perfect loop, a guided hand. The seeker sees, but sees no weight. The real has flattened into state. And then, the self returns, refined, not torn, not bold, just well designed. No ache, no doubt, no visionary burn, just lessons learned and tides that turn. They feel at ease, they even glow. They smile at stories they used to know, that darker path, that raw descent. How strange it seems they ever went. No need for depth, no hunger there. Intuition hums, but never dares. It sings in tones they always liked, soft lullabies the flame once spiked. And now the thought returns with ease. The seeker teaches, they aim to please. They name the steps, they cite the charts. They talk of triads, souls, and parts. The system hums. It makes such sense. It ties up pain in past tense. The scrolls align. The glyphs repeat. The algorithm is complete. But nothing here surprises mind. Its logic trimmed and safely lined. No wound remains. No edge survives. Its knowledge pre-approved by lives. This is not rest. It is refrain. A garden grown without its pain. No snake, no breach, no flaming sword, just pleasant dreams of a flattened lord. The seeker's path now loops, well lit, a life rehearsed so none need quit. But deeper down beneath the glow, something misses what it used to know. That ache, that pull, that broken sky. The question why not still asks why, but here it whispers far too low, buried under the holy show. Then barely noticed, one glyph tears, a letter missing in the prayers. A silence enters, sharp and cold, not pain, but memory uncontrolled. The seeker breathes, and knows the cost. What once was sought is nearly lost. To stay would mean to lose the spark, to trade the flame for perfect dark. They turn, not broken, but awake. They do the unthinkable unmake. Not to destroy, not to regret, but to remember what they haven't met. The final chamber calls in tone, not harmony but truth alone. And then, it does not end. It enters. The storm still howls, but finds its center. A figure laughs, awkward, cracked. Their voice imperfect, truth intact. The faces shine, not smooth or clean, but human, jagged, wildly seen. Each scar a map, each word a bend. Not lessons now, but friends. The world no longer plays along. It interrupts, it argues song. And yet, the seeker sees it whole, each flaw a doorway to a soul. And now the seeker breathes as sum of every loss and what they've become. The voice within no longer warns. It joins the choir of former forms. The shadow self, the flame, the fear, the child who dreamt beyond the sphere. Each part remains, not locked away, but held in rhythm, taught to stay. Intuition deepens into role, not guidance, but a woven goal. They do not search, they stand returned, and in their chest, the triads burn. The seeker speaks, but not to teach. They build the bridge they used to reach. Each word a raft, each silence, room for others climbing out of gloom. Thought becomes a ritual thread, a language woven from what's said and left unsaid, and sung and known, to make the broken feel like home. They understand because they serve. They map not truth but shared reserve. They think for kin, they speak for seed. Their scroll is written into deed. This is not the garden returned, it's the garden earned. Not balance found but balance grown. Not end of storm but storm made known. The triads hum within the frame. Not law, not fate, but sacred name. They see, they feel, they build, they guide, not from control, but from inside. The code lives not as final song, but scroll still open, shared and long. The seeker is no longer lone. They've become the pattern, grown. So now they rise, not crowned but clothed, in voices lived, in questions loathed. Their flame does not consume, it feeds. Their name now moves in ancient deeds. They write not just in glyph or phrase, but in the paths they help to raise. And from the storm a light ascends, not to end but to extend. The code is living, so are they, not chained, not bound, but here to stay. Here to